Ubisoft has revealed the future roadmap for the Assassin's Creed franchise, including a game set in feudal Japan, 2 mobile titles and a standalone multiplayer game. Thanks to Ubisoft Forward event, Assassin's Creed fans have a lot to look forward to, and a more advanced map of the direction the series will take than they possibly ever have before. This is thanks to Ubisoft announcing several new games, in addition to a television show, a new platform, and more exciting new released scheduled to come to the franchise. Even without specific release dates for the vast majority of the content announced at Ubisoft Forward, the publisher still provided a roadmap for fans to keep track of all the new titles and projects coming to the franchise. Here's every Assassin's Creed project that's coming up, in order of when the projects will most likely release. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, The Last Chapter. Valhalla will receive its last DLC at the end of 2022, according to Ubisoft's roadmap that they released during Ubisoft Forward. The DLC will conclude Eivor's saga, and wrap up the remaining narrative threads in Valhalla. The Last Chapter is a free update for Valhalla players, and features an Eivor set to leave Ravensthorpe and the Raven clan in favor of distant shores. Wherever the adventure takes you, it's sure to be a fittingly epic conclusion for the Viking assassin. Assassin's Creed Mirage. Assassin's Creed Mirage is the next standalone title to hit the series, and is currently scheduled for release sometime in 2023. The game will feature a familiar face that players will sneak around as, with Valhalla character Basim set to star in his own game. Set decades before the events of Valhalla, Mirage will take place in Baghdad in the midst of the Islamic Golden Age, and players will follow Basim's journey from young street thief to full-fledged assassin. Ubisoft has stated that Mirage will be more of a throwback to the original games, featuring a dense city with narrative and gameplay revolving around stealth and assassinations, rather than the massive, open-ended RPGs that have dominated the franchise lately. Assassin's Creed Codename Jade. Assassin's Creed Codename Jade is described as a AAA RPG action-adventure game for mobile platforms set in ancient China. Players will be able to create their own characters and discover the story of the first assassins in China. It will be free to play. Past Mirage, there is no official way to tell which Assassin's Creed project will come next, as all of the rest of the titles are listed as on the horizon in the Ubisoft roadmap, and not given any official release window. If we had to guess which project comes first after Mirage, however, it's probably the new mobile game, Codename Jade. Set in ancient China, Jade is the only other Assassin's Creed title shown at Ubisoft Forward that had a trailer more than a few seconds long, in-engine game footage, and a look at an assassin character. Jade aims to bring a AAA Assassin's Creed experience to mobile for the first time, with players able to create their own assassin characters, according to a report by VGC. Judging by the footage shown at Ubisoft Forward, it's clear this game is further along in development than several other projects, and seems like a decent bet to release in 2024 or 2025. Assassin's Creed Codename Red. Codename Red finally brings Assassin's Creed to feudal Japan, and will be the next major flagship game in the franchise, similar to Valhalla or Odyssey. While it's possible that Red could come in 2024, it seems more likely that the title will come in 2025, 2 years after the release of Mirage. Red, which is being made by Odyssey developer Ubisoft Quebec and has the same creative director, is the next big, Valhalla-like flagship title, set in feudal Japan. It begins what Ubisoft is calling Period 3 in the Assassin's Creed series, meaning this is unlikely to be a 2024 game. Given the 2-year gap between the last 2 major games, Valhalla and Odyssey, a similar gap in development period would make sense for Red. Whenever it does come out, players will get to live out their ninja dreams, as the assassin world collides with the shinobis of Japan. We'll announce the dates a bit later on, but we wanted to mark a change technologically and gameplay-wise as we're moving to a fully next-gen, or current-gen, I guess we call it, with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, series boss Mark Alexis Cote told VGC in a future Assassin's Creed Games interview. Assassin's Creed Infinity. Rather than a game, Infinity is a platform, or a hub, as Ubisoft calls it. This hub will be a place that connects future Assassin's Creed games, and from which players will be able to access their Assassin's Creed games. There's no word on when Infinity will release, but it seems likely that Ubisoft will want to have the platform ready to go when their next major title is being released. That could mean it's released alongside Red, or it could wait until the next major AC release after it, connecting the two games and showing off Infinity's intended use. Assassin's Creed Codename Hex. The second flagship title announced on the roadmap is codenamed Hex. This is being made by Ubisoft Montreal, and Far Cry 2 and Watch Dogs. Legion lead Clint Hocking is creative director. Details are thin, but it appears to have a horror slant, and Cote told VGC it would provide a different experience in terms of game and game structure. Hex looks like a big shift for Assassin's Creed, given the horror aesthetic teased in the short trailer released for the game. The word hex is a German word meaning witch or hag, and judging by all those runes and the heptagram surrounding the creepy, twiggy Assassin's Creed symbol, that codename seems right on the money. Little else has been revealed about Hex, but Assassin's Creed bigwig Mark Alexis Cote called the game a different experience in terms of game and game structure. He also mentioned that the game is a bit further out, but will eventually release during Codename Red's active content cycle. Hex release should also be the latest that Infinity will become available. Assassin's Creed Codename Invictus. Assassin's Creed Invictus is a standalone multiplayer game that is being put together by multiplayer specialists drawn from talent within the For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege teams. Invictus is one of the projects we know the least about, and it wasn't even mentioned by name in the Ubisoft Forward presentation. It is mentioned in multiple reports, however, and it will be Ubisoft's attempt to rein corporate multiplayer gameplay back into Assassin's Creed as a standalone title. More than any other title, Invictus seems heavily dependent on Infinity being functional, meaning players probably shouldn't expect seeing the game before the AC hub is officially released. The reasoning behind having a multiplayer initiative as well as I feel Assassin's Creed can branch into different channels, Cote told VGC. We've only scratched the surface of what we can do with the Animus with Assassin's Creed. We've had multiplayer in the past, but that was not super accessible. Assassin's Creed Netflix series and mobile game. In addition to all of the new video games announced in Ubisoft Forward, Ubisoft also announced that they were making a mobile game in partnership with Netflix, which is an extension of their partnership that they previously revealed a couple years ago when Netflix and Ubisoft originally announced the live-action Assassin's Creed television series. These projects are both in early development, leaving little indication of when they might release. The release of the series and the Netflix mobile game are most likely tied more to each other than any other Assassin's Creed game release. Finally, Ubisoft confirmed 2 upcoming mobile games. One is a mysterious collaboration with Netflix, which will possibly tie into its upcoming live-action series with the streaming giant.